But the main talking point and discussion and debate that's particularly been ravaging football Twitter, certainly in the City and Arsenal sphere, is Declan Rice, Arsenal or Manchester City. In case you don't know the exact situation of what's happening here, Declan Rice has been a long-standing target for Arsenal. It seemed a few months ago that was definitely where he was going to end up. There was always like the question mark of, will City be involved? Will City get involved? But if you listen to the City media people, like the City journalists, the message was always City won't make a decision on Rice until they hear Gundogan's decision in respect of, is he going to sign an extension? Is he leaving on a free? And Gundogan was dragging his feet with the decision. It didn't happen in the end. He wanted to join Barca instead, I think because they were offering a few more years on the deal, and City weren't willing to do that for a 32, 33-year-old. I think that's a mistake. They should have given the years, but whatever, that happened. And then when it was confirmed Gundogan left, that's when City came in, and it was like, right, now City are gearing up talks to engage with Declan Rice's camp and West Ham, etc., etc. So before we talk about, the likelihood of where he's going to go, Gasky, what do you make of, if you have seen this debate and stuff, what do you make of this whole debate of either side saying that he's got a weak, so for example, Arsenal fans saying he would have a weak mentality if he chose City, and lots of City fans saying he'd have a weak mentality going to Arsenal. Do you give that any credence or what?
I think it's daft argument to have, because him leaving West Ham for either is a big step. It doesn't matter who you go to. I think there's benefits to both, and there's disadvantages to both. Like, for example, if he was to go to City, you're not guaranteed to play every minute. Whereas at Arsenal, he probably would, because I think Partey's looking at leaving. So you probably would play every minute. I think a lot of people are looking at Calvin Phillips' situation and thinking he's just going to be on the bench. But Calvin Phillips has been injured to start with, which hasn't helped. But also, you probably wouldn't play. But Declan Rice has got the ability to play the Gundogan way, whereas Phillips doesn't. He can play that 8. He can play that late run-in from midfield. And really, I don't think it's more... I think it's more down to him. It's just down to him. Like, if he was to go to Arsenal, he'd benefit. If he goes to City, he'd benefit. It's none of this if he goes to City, bad mentality, you'll be on the bench, whereas at Arsenal, you'll be starting every game. And vice versa, really. Either way, it's going to be great for his career.
Yeah, I think it sort of smells a bit like, my dad's bigger than your dad sort of syndrome, where it's just a debate that doesn't matter, first of all.
Yeah.
And I understand.
Like this might sound petty, but I feel like Arsenal have a little title run, and now they think that they're the bee's knees. A lot of these Arsenal fans. And it's like, no, you've had a good title, and it doesn't mean that you're willing to pay 100 million for a player. Brilliant, you've keep yourself pushing, but it doesn't mean you're anywhere near City at all. Miles off. Still, City are that far ahead of everyone, but stop acting like, that your team's the best team in the country now. So it's kind of how Liverpool fans reacted, but then Liverpool had trophies to answer that too. And you can have that bit of arrogance because you've won the Champions League, you've won the league. Whereas these Arsenal fans are acting like that. And it's like, no, you had a title race that you bottled. So chill.
Yeah, no, this is a bit of an aside now, because I do also want to talk about the whole thing. Now, I must preface this by saying, when I say, Arsenal fans, I'm talking about a specific
a small amount.
Yeah, and they're always online. I'm just basing it off, Arsenal Twitter, basically. So when I say Arsenal fans, I'm not talking about all Arsenal fans. I'm not talking about the main consensus of Arsenal. I don't think you are either, Gasky. We're talking about...
No, it's just
a vocal online...
When we say fans in these podcasts, mostly, we mean Twitter usually.
Yeah, because that's what we've got.
That's where they're vocal. That's where... I know one person in my life who's an Arsenal fan. It's London-based. You barely know any, don't you?
Of course.
So, he's fine. I can have football chats with him. Whereas, when you look at Twitter, it's just, that's what you got to go off.
Yeah, but you are absolutely right. As I say, these big accounts in particular, they do. I noticed it throughout the whole season as well, really. Obviously, I haven't really paid attention to it because... Arsenal have never been in this situation, where, they were so close to winning a title for nearly 2 decades. And obviously Twitter wasn't really a thing in 2004 or whatever. So, it wasn't a thing. But, this is the first time I've noticed it where actually, this set of fans are, I'm sure every fan base has it, but
Yeah.
It's just like, it's weird because, again, I can understand it with, as you said, Liverpool fans who, again, maybe they got too big for their boots at some point, saying, they're best in class in every position, but at least they won that Premier League trophy
they won
a couple of years ago.
So when you have arguments about certain players being better than other players, and people, like, I always think when you bring up trophies when it comes to individual players, it's stupid. Like, don't do it.
No, it is.
You're talking about how good a player is. But when you're in the argument, at least you have that to bounce off. Whereas, like, they just think that they've already got this attitude that you get to see
they've done
it in the last couple of years, and it's like, but you haven't. You've actually bottled it. It's like, okay, you're interested in getting Declan Rice at Arsenal. Good, you're showing that kind of ambition that Arsenal haven't had for a long time. Brilliant. It's good. It's good to get a bit more competitive. But you're going so far one way. It's like as if you've won everything. It's like, no.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. And again, I'm guarantee there'll be loads of like online and City fans who are incredibly arrogant. But in fairness, City fans
to be.
Yeah, they have sort of won quite a bit. So they are in a position to say, well, we have won the treble, and we have won X amount of titles over the past few years, and we are currently quite good at the football. So I'd say they're probably in a better position to be a bit arrogant. But yeah, it comes back to the thing of like, I don't know where this like sort of almost like I don't know where this chest comes from. Like I don't know why they feel so like. I think it is arrogance, but without the actual recent titles and the recent success to back it up. It's all based on like either what we could become next season, or it's based on I see the shite like peddled. It's like, oh, when it was like Declan Rice, because there are loads of like issues in the saga, but there was one moment where it seemed like Rice was absolutely going to Arsenal. You got all these Arsenal fans saying, oh yeah, he's chosen like tradition and history and class over City. It's like, oh, just like do one, mate. Like, what are you on about?
Yeah, like that means what you're saying means nothing.
Yeah.
It's not. He's probably the only thing. Put it this way, right? If Declan Rice joins City, he's joining the best team in the world, right? That's his opportunity, and he's chosen to join the best team in the world. If he joins Arsenal, he's probably thinking, if I join City, I might not play. If I join Arsenal, potentially I could go further and be a bigger legend there, potentially. Yeah. And that's what it takes. There's a pros and cons for both.
Yeah.
It's not like if he joins City, he's completely ruined his career. No.
Yeah, that's stupid. Yeah, you don't have to attack him either way. I mean, I am having a go at City fans because I don't agree with a lot of City fans who say he's got a weak mentality not joining us. But I also don't agree with like these Arsenal fans, as I say, who are just like, who's got this weird sort of moral superiority, and it's like I just don't understand where it's derived from, unless you're like a really old Arsenal fan and you did see them, in like the 90s and the 80s, etc. Like when they were winning like league titles on a consistent basis or whatever. But otherwise, these fans who were who would have been like 1 year old when the Invincibles happened, or weren't even born when the Invincibles happened, and they're acting as if they are Man United or they are Liverpool.
Oh, yeah. It's like for me, like when United won the treble, I wasn't old. I don't remember it. I just go off what my parents were there. I go off what they told me. You go off what your grandparents tell you. That's where you get most of your football history from. You can't just act like, we're back based on one season, one bottle title attempt. It's if next season they keep pushing, fantastic. Because we did say it about Liverpool, I think, but like they were missing a couple of key components. They sign Alisson, they sign Van Dijk, and they go and win everything. But Arsenal could potentially do that. They're missing a couple of components. They could go and win stuff. But right now, shush.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah, and it was like a message we were repeating last season. I know at one point it looked like Arsenal were going to win it, but we kept, sort of like in the early stages of the season where we were convinced it would eventually derail, and eventually it did, but it looked like it wasn't. We kept saying, just enjoy it. Don't get too big for your boots. Don't get too cocky. Yeah. But yeah, it's just like they've had it's almost like they've had a taste of it. Like these like younger fans, so this will be like their first experience of, because they've probably only experienced late Wenger. And
top four fights and sacking managers.
Exactly, They wouldn't have experienced, early noughties Arsenal when they're obviously very good. So it's like it's their first taste, and now it's like, oh yeah, this is brilliant. This is where we belong. It's like, it doesn't really work like that. There's no guarantees in football. So I don't get the cockiness. I don't get the arrogance from any sets of fans, to be honest. But whatever. And that's all been brought about because I don't think this would have happened, but for the fact that it's City being involved in a player who Arsenal obviously want. Hence, that they're trying to attack City. I guess, I don't know. But just going back to Declan Rice, Gasky, it would probably play very different roles depending on who he signs for. This is why it's so interesting, because I think if he signed for Arsenal, in my opinion, he would be used as a six, as defensive midfielder, as a party replacement.
Partey,
exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas at City, he would, and this is where I also don't understand. Like, people are saying, well, he's not going to play ahead of Rodri. He wouldn't be coming in as a six or a Rodri replacement or a Rodri alternative, or like, a Phillips replacement. He would be coming in as a more advanced, progressive player. I don't think he'd be sat next to Rodri. I think, as you said, he would be in the more Gundogan position. Whether he can naturally play that now is not relevant. I think that's where he would be long term, because he wouldn't be coming in to replace the best defensive midfielder in the world.
Capable. Yeah. He's definitely capable, because he can play. He's good at playing the ball.
And Pep's pretty good at coaching players.
Put it this way, you see what John Stones could do this season. So he's capable of doing it. So
yeah, absolutely. So he can definitely do it. And maybe, from an England perspective, it probably makes more sense for him to go to Arsenal, where he can develop as a defensive midfielder. Because if we don't have Rice, we've only got Phillips, and we all know the issues with Phillips potentially. So maybe that's a big factor as well. Maybe if he sees himself as a more defensive midfielder, as an out-and-out six, he should go to Arsenal. But if he does see himself as a more overall midfielder, someone who might sometimes chip in at defensive midfield, but primarily will be going forwards and progressing play, maybe he should go to City instead. I don't know what he wants, though. The talk is he prefers Arsenal. I don't know if that's because it's London. I don't know if it's just because he prefers the idea of working with Arteta. He prefers the idea of being the main man, because he wouldn't be at City. But there's nothing wrong with him wanting to go to Arsenal.
Exactly. Like it's one of those rare transfers where really the player's decision shouldn't really affect either team. There's benefits to both. So usually it's like, it's going to be, for West Ham's point of view, it's going to be the highest bidder. And then for Rice's position, it's going to be like, well, I don't want to go there. Or it's probably going to come down to the highest bidder, because if Rice is not bothered, then it's just going to be like, well, West Ham, which bidder are you accepting?
That's the thing. So again, according to reports, Rice prefers Arsenal, but the fact that he hasn't entirely rejected City, and clearly he hasn't, otherwise City, there wouldn't be all these rumours coming out, City are lining up a bid, City discussing with Rice. He's clearly open to the idea of coming to City, otherwise City wouldn't be bothered. Do you know what I mean? If it was, no, I don't want to come, leave me alone, City wouldn't be thinking...
bother.
Exactly. They wouldn't waste their time. They'd look somewhere else. They'd go, right, let's go to another target or whatever. But so that tells me that City are still in the race, and Rice he hasn't said, I'm exclusively interested in Arsenal. He's clear. There's also clearly something in the back of his mind going, Man City might be an option.
But yeah, because it's the best team in the world. If you get an inkling that the best team in the world are interested in you, you're going to keep your options open. Any player would.
Yeah.
So,
no, for sure, and I think that will, because City haven't actually put in a bid yet. I think Arsenal have put in 2, and they've both been rejected. So for me, if City do end up submitting a bid, that speaks volumes, because they will not submit a bid unless he wants to come. So if they submit a bid, that must mean they're very confident, 100% confident Rice would want to come to City. So I think if City submit a bid, I think that he'll go to City, because if City want him, they will bid slightly more than Arsenal, and then if it comes down to West Ham, who do they want to sell to? You said it, they want to go to the highest bidder. But time will tell whether City actually end up bidding.
Oh yeah, exactly. And then City won't go into a bidding war. They'll find out what price they want, and they'll pay the price if they want him. So
yeah, they'll just say to West Ham, right, mate, what do you want?
How much do you want?
Exactly.
Yeah, right. You keep rejecting these bids from Arsenal. You want this much, right? We'll pay this much for him, and then it's up to Rice, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Definitely, but again, I just want this. I want the saga to end. I'm like you with the Mason Mount situation. I just want it to be over, so that I can either be like, okay, great, we've got Rice, or okay, we don't have Rice. Now what do? Do we just say, well, actually, we don't need another central midfielder, because if we keep Bernardo, we can have Bernardo and Foden there. Maybe we should go out and sign a right winger, so that to replace the minutes that Bernardo would cover playing there. But it's all up in the air, and we don't know, and I don't like that uncertainty. But either way,
story of my life.
Yeah. And then just this stuff like the last thing, sounds like we're doing a lot of Arsenal fan bashing. Again, I reiterate, it's just a certain section.
Yes.
I mean, to be honest, it's mainly 2 or 3 Twitter accounts.
Oh, it's the usual lot. Like I see the usual lot.
To be
on Twitter.
fair.
It's just like usually I scroll past, but today I felt risky today. I thought, you know what, I'm gonna comment on some of these.
No,
they're just like some of these they're chatting us a crap.
Yeah,
I'm sick of it.
Yeah, and that was the last thing I wanted to say. Like I've seen some people say something like, Man City fear Arsenal, and that's why they're trying to sign Rice, so we can't have him.
It's like
I'm sorry. Again, this is the arrogant City fan coming out. We have just won the treble, and sorry, this was like your best season in however long, and you absolutely capitulated and bottled it against a Man City side who were in transition for 2/3 of the season and couldn't really sort themselves out into the final third, and you still finish however many points behind us. So in what reality, and we're the best team in the world, I don't care, we are. In what reality are Man City scared of Arsenal? What do we have to fear? We literally, I'm sorry, again, we're giving you our cast-offs in Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko. What do you mean we're scared of you?
It makes no sense, does it? It's like, so the one I reacted to today was I think Talksport put something on Twitter saying like, would you rather have the treble or an invincible season?
Oh God!
So which was they put on, but it was the reply. It's like literally, which one do you want? That's all it was, and they were just answering comments going, well, trebles happened twice, invincibles only happened once.
Hate that.
I put, that's just not the question. That's just not the question, though.